What's up? Just so you know, it might not be everybody else. The track's not out to get you. The other racers aren't out to get you. You might just suck. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. A couple other things. It's okay to not be good. It's okay to not be the best. That's what we're going to cover tonight. I'm going to say some stuff. Some of you might accuse me of doing this for views or comments or whatever. I don't care. I haven't been on in a minute. I have had some stuff going on in the background of my life, and it has prevented me from being in here. But how good's this look now, though? Right? Like, how good's this? I got the light. Okay. That gets distracting. We can pick a color. I've been asked to do a show like tonight for a while now by a bunch of different people. And so we're going to. So we're going to cover some stuff tonight, and I might upset some people, and that's okay. So what's up, Doug Peters from Boston? Kyle Keach, Marvin. I'm going to try to ignore comments a little bit tonight for a bit, as I just list them all off. So yeah, I'm not going to get too into what all's been up with me. I'm going to go live in the subscriber group in the next day or two, tonight, tomorrow, somewhere in there, and talk about it. I'm filming a little video as to what all's been going on, but let's just say that had a lot of stuff. It's been kicking me around lately, so which is fine. I'm doing okay. I'm doing good, but I haven't been able to get a race car going. I haven't been able to get, I'm actually down cars. Ben blew up. For those of you who don't know, Ben blew up Doc at Spartan. So yeah, my street cars haven't been going good either, right? So I haven't been to the racetrack a ton this year. But I, like other people, am on Facebook a lot, too much. Some people might say, myself included. I'm on Facebook way too much. I'm on YouTube a lot. I watch the videos. I watch the drama unfold. I watch all of it. And do you know how hard it is not to comment on some of your posts that it's that you are not good? Maybe not Joe specifically. There are so many people this year, and I kind of said this last year. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. Okay. If you are involved on an on-track incident, okay, for the love of everything, can we not have the default thing be he wrecked me intentionally because he's scared of me, or she drove right through me because she knows I'm faster than her? Can we just stop with that bullshit? Okay. I watched some videos from this last weekend. Couple local, couple farther away. I'm not going to name names, do stuff like that, but the first person to post online is usually the one who's trying to get, all the sympathy. Like it's bad. Well, he knew I was there. He drove right through me. No, he didn't. You buried it in. It didn't stick. You doored the shit out of him. You didn't give him any room. You chopped across his nose. Like, why is the default thing that happens when you hit somebody or they hit you that, oh my God, that other guy did it, and it's because I'm faster than him? I watched, and I'm going to say some things that are uncharacteristic of the way I say things typically, because I respect everybody for showing up. Okay, we need B main guys, we need C main guys and gals that show up. Okay, we need the mid pack, back of the pack cars. Yeah, the three fastest guys might put on a heck of a show, but if it's only those three guys, it's boring. Okay. But I was watching some drama unfold a few weeks ago, and it blew my mind. Because it was some B and C main guys arguing on Facebook about how, well, they're out to get me because they know they can't beat me. I'm unbeatable. I'm too fast for them. The one the one cracked me up because this is a guy that they should be in the A main, but he slows down so he can win the B main. And it's obvious that he's doing that. And he's just arguing about how good he is compared to this other guy. And it's like, you were 24th fast out of like 50 cars, barely top half of the field. And you're going to belittle the guy that out-qualified you, and then you drove into and claim it was on purpose, that they knew they couldn't beat me any other way, because you shouldn't be in there. Like, why is that just the de facto go-to thing right now? Have I said somebody else has drove through me or hit me and it was somebody else's fault, and evidence later proved me wrong? Yeah. And I've admitted it. And I will continue to admit it. I got 3 or 4 drivers I will never, ever give the benefit of doubt to. If they drive into the side of me, nope, they don't get the benefit of the doubt. But that's from years. Now, I'm not going to go fight them, but I'll let them come talk to me. We can talk it out, see if they want to apologize. Or if I drove into them, I'll apologize. I've done it before. I've walked to other people's pits and apologized. I had my brother-in-law one time at Galesburg Speedway, and I'll name names on this one. He's been here before. I dipped my left front down into the dirt at Galesburg Speedway. Couldn't get stopped in time. Drove into the side of Fireball Neal. Okay. And man, at the time, me and the Neals as a family didn't get along. The group I was with and their group, we didn't get along very well. Okay. At all. Right. But I drove right into him. And he moved up. He slowed down because he seen it was me. Went down the backstretch. I got popped in the ass going into 3. Square. Like he let me know he was unhappy with it, right? My old crew, a bunch of people I was with, kept saying, "Oh my God, that was such an asshole move by him," right? No. Nope. I deserved it because I drove into him going into 1. We got out and I calmed everybody down like, "Hey, no, that was my fault." And I asked my brother-in-law, who's friends with him, "Can you come with me? I want to go apologize." I was walking into enemy territory. Straight up. Right? This is how enemy territory it was. The record driver stopped us on the way. It's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I need to go apologize because I drove into Willie." And he went, "I'm going to go tell him you're coming in peace." And Willie came out to meet me, not in his pit, because their group wanted to murder me for driving into him. Rightfully so. But it wasn't his fault. It was mine. Because I would have gave him the same shot he gave me. I'd have gave him the same one. And not just him. Like, that's the universal, like, "Hey, didn't appreciate that, buddy." Okay? He didn't wreck me. He didn't drive through me. He didn't move me for the spot. I was faster than he was. I drove away. I got a few more cars. It all worked out. But I went down there and apologized. Now, this was years ago. This was many years ago. But I still try to hold that same mentality. And I see guys now. I've seen one guy. It started last season. It's continuing into this season. Every week, something happens that involves their car. And some of the local tracks we got around here have got some really good video services. Some of these drivers have really good in-car cameras. Like, it's easy to watch this incident from multiple angles. And every week, this same driver is involved with somebody. And they're involved with this driver and that driver and this driver and that driver and this driver and that driver. And if you talk to them or you read their Facebook page, everybody's out to get them because they know how fast they are and they're unbeatable. And the only way the only way they can beat you is by wrecking you. This is just cream soda, by the way. But every week, they're out to get me. They're out to get me. They know the only way they can beat me. Guys and gals. And if this driver's watching, his best finish has been like 8th in the B main. He ran for the win one night in the C main. I don't really talk to the guy in person when I do go to the racetrack. We're just not friends. We don't run in the same circle. But it's so hard not to comment on his Facebook stuff and be like, if you have an issue with everybody else and nobody else has an issue with everybody else, it's probably you. It's probably you. Okay? If there's 45 of you guys out there racing and you somehow manage to hit 15 people at the track have an issue with you because you're so fast. It might not be everybody else. Okay? It might not. Now, in this driver's defense, I have watched some of the footage, and there has been 4 or 5 instances, and mind you, this is going back to last year even, right? There's been 4 or 5 instances, wrong place, wrong time, absolutely not this dude's fault whatsoever, okay? Somebody else either just barrels up and gets them. The one night something broke on a competitor's car and shot their car up, okay? There's like 4 or 5 of those instances out of probably 15. And one night I watched the video. This dude went into the corner harder than I've ever went into that same corner at that same track. And I've never gone. Well, I have gone slower than that now. But in that type of car, like back when I had the good car running, I would be about a second and a half faster than this person. And I didn't go in the corner that hard. Like that, it ain't sticking. There's nothing they could do to make that car turn in that corner. And they just blasted through some people. Oh, you turned down on me. You just turned down. No. There's nothing that says that if you suck now, that you have to suck next week or the week after or next year or 2 years from now. Okay? There isn't. But you're not going to get better. You're not going to go faster. You're not going to finish more races. You're not going to win more races if you can't do a realistic self-evaluation of your talents. Okay? If you can't sit down and watch a video and go, probably shouldn't have shot that in there. If you watch every single video of wrecks that you were involved in and you just go, everybody else's fault but mine. Listen. Ain't everybody else. Okay? And I'm not immune to this. I'm not sitting here trying to get on my soapbox and preach to you guys off my high horse, which is balancing on my soapbox, okay? I fuck up. Happens. I drove into my own car at Kalamazoo. I was driving Dad's car and Ben was driving Doc. And I chopped him a little harder than I should have, and we touched. He didn't wreck me. It was all good, right? And we laughed about it afterwards. I was like, dude, you drove into me because he was pushing a little bit. I chopped him. I didn't give him nearly enough room. I was hoping to buzz him, but I misjudged it, right? Like, that's just a recent example. I ain't raced that much in the last couple of years, okay? I screw up. I went down there to Bristol and still surprised nobody hit me, right? I've won a lot of races. I've lost a lot of races. I've hit people. But the car that I've got sitting in my pole barn over here, I built it in 2015. I got into a wreck in 2017, and that's the only real bent part of that car. It still has the same doors that it left the factory with. It still has the same quarter panels it left the factory with. I think the doors, but it has the same doors as when I put it together. I replaced one front fender. Actually, at this point, I have replaced both front fenders because we replaced the front clip. But I only replaced one front fender. Like, I try really hard not to hit people. I try hard to keep my equipment clean, right? I drove my dad's car. I could put like one donut on it in like 4 or 5 races, right? I screw up. I touch people from every now and then. I try to admit it. But you know what I got that's an advantage? I got people in my corner that will tell me I fucked up. Couple people. And I talked about it a lot. I got my buddy Mike. He's my best friend. And Mike will be the first person to walk up and be like, dude, that is how you drive. Like, holy shit, that's the best thing I've ever seen. Like, he will cheer me on like crazy. But if I come in and I drove through somebody, he'll be like, hey, that was your fault. And my brother-in-law John will do the exact same thing. He'll applaud with me. He'll be in the pictures. He'll cheer for me. But if I screw up, he'll tell me. Now, both of those guys get the same thing for me. If they screw up, I tell them, right? Have some friends like that. Be that friend. Be that teammate. Okay. Well, Misty, you'll tell me when I screw up, but you're lopsided. If Scott and I got together, you're on Scott's side no matter what, right? Have somebody on your crew, on your team, somebody that won't just, they're all out to get you. And I have somebody that'll be like, nope, brother, Jesus himself wouldn't have made that thing stick. Okay. Pooter and Brandon, I'm so curious who it is. I just want to know what track. I'm not talking tracks. You guys got to realize I have like 3,000 friends on my Facebook. I see the local stuff. I see not local stuff. I see everything from Maine to Florida to California, everywhere in between. People send me videos to ask my opinion on. I get a lot of information. Some of this, I'll be dead straight honest with you. Some of this stuff, guys, I'm lumping 1 or 2 drivers together so you can't tell who it is. Some of this stuff is one person in particular. I'm trying real hard not to single anyone out. Okay. Like, because A, I don't want the drama. I don't have to go to a racetrack and somebody tries to fight me because I've said publicly that they suck. But 2, I really just want people to sit and actually think some of this shit through. Okay. And Jeff's asking a question here too, and this is the next thing that we're going to talk about. And Jeff says, what about the guys who come out of the corner and immediately shoot low to chop you? Okay. This is the other part of this, guys and gals. Okay. Stop trying to protect constantly. I've seen so many incidences this year that were one person is just, they're just trying to block. And they could go so much faster, and they probably wouldn't have all been involved in an incident, and they probably wouldn't have had an issue if they weren't trying to get right back to the bottom immediately coming off the corner. Like, we got some guys locally. I like them when I race against them because I don't ever have to worry. They're never going to come above the bottom third of the track. I ain't got to worry about it. I also know I'm not going to go under them, but that's cool because they're going to come out. They're going to come in way too low. They're going to miss the apex. They're going to wash out a little bit in the middle, and then they're going to chop right back down. And it is the worst line you can run. They're going to scrub speed off, which allows me to bomb in outside of them, carry the momentum, run my line, hit the apex, get on the brakes, get on the gas like I need to, and I'm going to pass them quick. They're not putting up a fight because you're running the wrong line. Okay. The times I've seen people get hooked to the infield because someone's got to run on them, expecting them to do normal race car driver shit. And instead, they do some guys who drive race car stuff and just they're a third of the way down the straightaway, and they should be even realistically 2 car lengths off the wall, but they're trying to be 6 car lengths off the wall. So the guy who's got to run on them doesn't matter. They can't get to the door. Right? Well, they're going to call it on the back guy. They shouldn't. And I've seen some tracks where they don't. where you can see the guy very obviously coming out and then he just jerks to the bottom and goes across somebody's nose. We ain't got mirrors. If you hear somebody, because listen, I get it. Well, if I send them to the tail, then I don't have to worry about them passing me, and then I can cool. What is that how you want to win? Well, every time somebody got next to me, I let them hit me and I sent them to the tail because they're faster than me, but I won. No, don't do that. If I win a race, if there's 25 people in that race, if I win, I want to know that my driving or my setup or both gave me the best car that allowed me to win. I finished second out of Springport in Dad's car a few weeks ago. Gord Albus drove around me. By the way, I can count on like two fingers the amount of times I've been in the lead and had somebody drive around me on the high side at Springport. Okay. Pretty sure I can count it on one finger. Happened a couple weeks ago. I'm usually lights out when I get the lead. Okay. And the reason being, and you can watch my dad filmed the video. He was up live, right? Gord couldn't get under me. And it wasn't because I was chopping, it was because I was late apexing. And I was slowing my car down to the exact point I needed to not push coming off the corner real hard. And Gord couldn't get a run underneath me. So Gord stepped to the outside, passed me clean as could be, drove around me on the outside. Took him a couple laps to get it all the way done. Because once he's outside of me, now I'm using all the track up to him. Because I wasn't worried about anybody else behind me. Gord was the only one I knew that was going to be able to pass me. But at no point, and you can watch the video, like I said, it's over on my dad's racing page. Like at no point was he beside me at all, front bumper to rear bumper. At no point, because he knew he couldn't get the run because I was protecting the bottom. There's a difference between protecting the bottom and chop blocking the shit out of people. Okay, huge difference. Huge difference. Okay, and if you are the type of person who you hear a car and you're going to chop down to the bottom and hope they hit the brakes, to put it bluntly, it's a bitch move. It really is. And you can be upset about it. That's okay. I've had some people in my personal life who I've said that to, that they've gotten mad at me for it. This is a win-win. Sure. I'm a lot more proud of some of my wins than others. Some of them were just on a bigger stage. Some of them, I had to race my ass off to win that race. Some of them, maybe the fastest guy broke. That happened to me a couple times where I've inherited the lead because somebody broke or a wreck happened, right? It's still a win. We still tally it up, but it's not as big as driving past 25 people, right? And that's okay. The thing is that you've got to be able to take stock of what you're doing. Okay. If you are driving and you are never coming off the bottom and you're hooking that thing back to the bottom every time, dirt, pavement, I don't care. Okay. If you are afraid to use the top half of the track at all times, you could be a better driver. If you are willing to try to wreck somebody to keep them behind you by chopping them, you could do better. It's not a good way to go. If you are also the kind of guy, because listen, here's the other thing, okay? I've ran a lot of races where I've come up on a car. I've had the fortune to be fast most of my career, okay? Most of it. I start towards the back and I go to the front. And I'm watching cars as I get to them. And if I'm coming up on somebody who is running the bottom and just try to stay out of the way because they're there to have fun, which is fine. More power to you. And if you are that kind of person where you go in and you slide up a little bit and then you come back down and you do it repeatedly and you're not chopping, you're running kind of a wrong line. Okay. I don't have an issue with that personally for me racing because I'm going to watch you. And as I get to you, I'm going to know you're going to come up half a car length in the corner. And I'm not going to try to go under you because I know you're going to come back down a little bit. Okay. If you are the type of person that is constantly left rearing somebody, because that's what's happening is they're moving up a little bit and you shove it under them and then you slide up and they come down. If you are the type of person that's doing that constantly, take stock of what you're doing. You're not doing very good. Kind of suck at it. You should be able to watch the people as you're coming up to them and see what they do. I had a driver years ago talk to me about how, well, that other driver, they always chop back down. Yeah. Every single corner of every single lap for the last X amount of years that they've raced, that's what they've done. And they only move up half a groove in the middle. They enter on the white line and they exit on the white line. Every single corner of every single lap they've ever ran for X amount of years, that's how they race. They're there to have fun. They don't care if they finish dead last. They're there to have fun. And somehow, and I'm talking to this other driver, says somehow you haven't been able to figure out after racing with them for multiple seasons that their line never, ever changes, that they are one of the most consistent drivers out there. And you are the only person that cannot figure that out, and you keep driving into them. Oh, well, you don't know what it's like. Yes, I do. I raced against them. I raced against them when they were a rookie many a year ago. You think they're bad now? You know what I never did? Hit them because I knew they were going to go back to the bottom because they weren't chopping people. They weren't waiting until somebody got beside them and chopped them. That was their line. They would enter on the bottom. They would go up. They'd slide up about half a car because they didn't have the right entry line. They'd slide up about half a car, and then they would drop right back down to the white line coming out. It was just the line they were running, and they were doing it to try to stay out of the way because they knew they weren't that fast. They didn't barrel it in there, go up to about 3 or 4 laps, and then chop to the bottom when somebody got underneath them. Nope. Right? Use the brake pedal. Don't just assume, well, they know I'm there. They know I'm there. If you are not going to put a donut in, and listen, here's the other thing, because this is the other thing that's bugged me this year, because I've seen multiple people do this multiple times. I've been guilty of this myself. It's worked out well almost every time I've gotten lucky. Okay. I try to save this move. If you bomb in on somebody at the last moment because you can outbrake them like crazy and you are carrying more straightaway speed, if you are trying to outbrake somebody, you have to make sure they have the space and time to react. Okay. It's not a difficult concept. Especially because if you're going to go on the internet, you're going to tell everybody about how they're scared of me because how fast I am, how good I am. I'm so awesome. You should know this. This is race car driver stuff, not guys who drive race car stuff. Okay. If I'm going to bomb in on somebody, I want to make sure that they have time and space to react to me suddenly appearing beside them. I've had a bigger motor than a lot of guys for a while. Super handy sometimes. But I also know that if it gets to the halfway point of the straightaway, and I am not beside them at all yet, but I know I can be going into one, but I know we're going to be 3 or 4 wide at that point, and I know that they've already started their entry into the corner, I'm probably not going to ram my car in there. Okay? Because at that point, the other point of this is that sometimes being right doesn't matter. Well, I got him into the door with my tire, so it was obviously my spot. Technically, you're right. He'd already started turning in. You didn't lift, you buried it in, and yeah, you got him in the door, but you also, had he not been there, was probably going into the wall all the way by yourself anyway. So, yeah, technically, you're right. You hit him in the door. Should have been your spot. But you buried it in there so damn hard, there wasn't a damn thing he could do. If you were that type of person where you're constantly doing that, well, they're always turning down into me and always this is, are you bombing it in a little too hard? Yeah, sometimes it works. I've been lucky that it's worked a few times for me. I have been lucky. I have not, and I'm telling you, I've been lucky because I've had a couple that were real questionable, and I trusted the person outside of me to react, and they did. Okay. I've been real lucky that I haven't had that. But I've also watched some guys junk their own shit out and junk other people because that's what they were doing. Is just bombing it in. Okay. It's cool to be fast. It's cool to have a great big motor. It's easy to get horsepower. You just have to pay for it. It really is. If you drive a Honda, you can call up Ford Piston or Wyndham or Ramsey. There's a dozen companies building motors for Honda, building a ton of horsepower. 250, 300 horsepower, like that. It's nothing. Just pay for it. That's it. You just have to pay for it. Okay. Horsepower is easy. You just have to pay for it. To make 230 wheel horse in a Neon, I built it all myself, but had I wanted to, I could have just paid for it. I could have spec'd all the parts, paid the machine shop to machine it and put it together. I could have paid for it, right? Horsepower is easy. Having the brain power and the talent to use that horsepower and to use the brake pedal as much or more is the key ingredient to being a good race car driver. I don't. I've watched guys have 100 horsepower over the field and finish 2 races in a year because they had half a second on second quick. They got to get to the front. They got to assert that dominance and let everybody know that I am the best. And then they just drive straight fucking through people. Like, they got all that horsepower. Right? Now, Jeff's asking, what if you're side by side, especially on dirt, and your car tail slaps a little? Is that considered intentional? Maybe. That's part of this, right? Jeff is being able to understand if I know, and trust me, I've done this. My third place from Bristol, you can watch. There's 2 or 3 times of my in-car video where I probably could have buried it in next to Justin Brown. He knew I was there. He left me what would have been a car. My issue is that if I went in that hard, it would walk out on me. And if Justin wasn't there, I could save it. But what I wasn't willing to do was bury it in there, walk the right rear out, tag him, and take us both out of the race. I'd rather settle for third versus second because we weren't catching Tom at that point. But I've had that where I've known my car cannot keep the right rear underneath me. So I have to adjust and slow down and keep it there. Okay. But if my dad knows the same thing, that his car is going to walk out on him every single corner, and he buries it in there 10 mile an hour too fast because he knows he's just going to bounce it off me and keep going, yeah, that's intentional. But if I go in this much too hard and try to catch it and just touch a little bit, no, it's not intentional. I just stepped on it. And that's okay to do from time to time. I step on it every now and then. It happens, right? The best drivers do it. Kyle Larson wrecks his race car sometimes too. It's okay. The difference is if you and I are racing, Jeff, and I know that mine's going to walk out, it's a dirt race. They all walk out, and I walked out a little bit too far and I bumped you. if I get out of the race car and I start screaming at anybody to listen how Jeff's such a dirty driver, he did that intentionally because he knew he couldn't beat me. I know we were racing for 12th in a transfer spot in the C main, but it's because he knew he couldn't beat me. That was intentional. He took me out. He drove right into me. You could no, that's an asshole move, right? But if I get out and I'm like, man, I thumped Jeff, I got to go apologize because I just walked it out a little too hard. I stepped on it, and there you go, right? That's part of it. Is being able to get out of the car, even in the heat of the moment, and just be like, yep. Do you want to be right? Or do you want to keep the car together? Yeah, that guy shouldn't have hit you. But you put him in a position where his lack of talent took you out. If you consider yourself an average driver, okay? Average driver. That means half the people you race against are worse than you. Half of them are better, half of them are worse. So if you drive underneath somebody, everybody, assuming that they are as good or better than you and they can hold it to there and they're not going to hit you, then you don't think you're an average driver. You think you are the worst driver out there. If you think you're an above average driver, that means most of the guys you race against, guys or gals, they're worse than you. They're not going to be able to react like you. They're not going to be able to react as well as you. They're not going to be able to do that. So you have to assume that they can't. I've got some drivers that I've raced against over the years that I do not believe they possess the talent to do extraordinary things in a race car. And that's fine. They're good drivers. They're not exceptional drivers, they're good drivers. But I also know that when push comes to shove, if I absolutely hammer the race car into a spot that it probably shouldn't be in, they likely cannot react in time to save both our cars. And I keep that in mind. So when I'm going to pass them, whether I'm passing them coming out of a corner and I need to be up far enough so they don't pinch me to the wall, or whether I'm, trying to bomb in underneath them, I know that it's not intentional. They just can't react that quickly. They're a good driver. As long as they're not put into an exceptional situation, they can be fast. They've won races. Like, I have no ill will towards these guys. But I know push comes to shove, I cannot expect them to do something extraordinary. Now, I got 2 or 3 guys. I tell you right now, push came to shove, like at Bristol, I went buzzing up the side of Stark, and we were in a 3-wide situation. And I trusted him explicitly because I know Stark is the kind of guy. He was in the middle groove. He's going to look in his mirror because we had him at Bristol. He's going to look in his mirror. He's going to see if he can clear me, if he's clear to move up. And he's the kind of guy that if he's like, oh, shit, he can react to that. I had no issues passing Kyle like that because I know Kyle is an exceptional driver. Some other people in that feature, I would not have done that to. Because I don't know if they're going to look at their mirror, and I know that they probably can't react quick enough. And that's okay. I'll be dead honest with you guys. I am not used to people running in underneath me. I'm not used to it. Every now and then, it still really catches me by surprise because I've had the fortune of being fast. So typically, whenever I get where I'm going, whether it be 5th or 1st or 10th or wherever, if I have guys or gals that are faster than me, they are barely faster than me. And if I get out front and run the line I'm going to run, they are not going to be able to put that car there unless they are doing something that won't work regardless, right? I'm not used to having somebody running out or running underneath me. It still catches me by surprise when it happens. I like to think I am an above average driver and I can react to that. And I cannot tell you the last time that I've had somebody that it was Ben at Kazoo. I haven't hit people I haven't had people drive into me like that because I can react, give them the space. Actually, I can remember it was an incident in Springport, and I got accused of doing it intentionally, despite clear evidence otherwise. Right? I know I haven't been active. I've got a lot of stuff going on. We're working. I look, we're in the new studio. Like I'm so happy to be in here. I got some new audio equipment. I got some new lighting equipment. I got the new setup. We're working on this thing. I did some better settings in the camera. I got to get a not black shirt, I think, right? I've got some neat stuff going on. I know I haven't been that active. I know that, we're not going to pull. I did a big safety rant a few years ago, pulled 700 people in. We're not doing that tonight. We're not going to do that anytime soon, right? But this is still shit people need to hear. Most drivers on the track are not thinking about you. They're not. I hate to say it. Most people in their day-to-day lives are not thinking about you. Like unless you have somebody on your mind, when's the last time you thought about half the people you run into contact with during the day? You know? I've never went to a racetrack and been like, so and so and so and so and so and so's getting it. I don't even care. They're getting it. Now I've went a few times where I'm like, hey, so and so's here. Cool. Better stay off me. And that's fine. Even that I don't mind so much. If you've had the same driver drive into you 10 times and you can actually say that they drove into you 10 times, right? And you can have independent witnesses. You can have somebody you don't like at all that would tell you if you screwed up. If you've had that and you've legitimately, I am all for standing up for yourself. You don't have to give positions away. If somebody is dive bombing you in, you don't have to give them any more than the room they require. Okay? You don't have to let somebody beat shit out of you every week. You don't have to do that. You can let people know your displeasure. You can deal with things if you need to deal with things. I'm all for that. Now, if you step on it, you overdrive the shit out of it, you door the hell out of somebody, you damn near wreck them out, and then they retaliate to you and they don't total your shit out, call it even. Okay? Now, don't put a racetrack in a position that they have to make this decision for you. And I mean this in like 10 different ways. I was going to talk safety tonight, but I think we're going to save that one till like Tuesday because I've got some videos that I thought were loaded on here but aren't that I want to use as demonstrations. Okay. Don't put a racetrack in a position to DQ you. Don't put a racetrack in a position that they have to turn you away for safety gear. Don't put a racetrack in a position that they have to be in a position to put you to the tail or put you back on the trailer or bar you. Okay. That's the biggest part of a bunch of this. If you can take accountability, and I didn't know that this wasn't a whole big thing when I talked about the spinner spinny tap out rule, and a bunch of the Southern guys and dirt guys were like, what the hell is that? Everybody involved, everybody spin, you all go to the tail, you all go to the trailers, y'all, nah, like, listen, guys and gals, talk to your race directors, talk to your tracks, talk to your promoters, talk to your series owners. You guys should at least have what I call the tap out rule. I call it that because that's what everybody else calls it too. I didn't make it up, right? Been around a lot longer than I am alive. It's very simple. In our example earlier with Jeff, say I overcook it, I walk it out a little bit, shit, I hit Jeff. Come around, I'm taking responsibility. Give Jeff his spot back, right? I'm not putting the track in a position they got to make that decision whether it was me or Jeff, right? Now, I'm going to try not to bake it in there and hit him in the first place and not have to be put in that position, right? Talk to your track, talk to your series, talk to whoever you need to. Try to get like the tap rule put in there. It still blows my mind that that isn't a universal thing where you can admit fault. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was universal. Like, I had that blew my mind when I figured out that that wasn't a thing in a big portion of racing. Like, well, if you just screwed up, wow, yeah, everybody involved. That's the dumbest rule. I can understand if nobody wants to admit fault. 100% that, right? I can understand that. If me and Scott are racing and say we don't like each other the way we do, and I am positive he turned down on me and he's positive I drove into him, neither one of us are going to tap, right? Cool. I get that. Takes both to the tail. Fuck him, right? But if I'm like, hey, so I know Scott and I don't see eye to eye, but I just screwed up, man. I just drove right into him, right? I, hey, that was me. You know, as you come around, you're just tapping out. You're tapping your roof, right? Tapping your helmet, tapping. Like, hey, that was me, right? It blows my mind that you know, because like Logan says, our track doesn't matter. If you don't maintain forward progress, you go to the back. Kyle says, yep, dirt car. Everybody goes to the rear unless they have a caution car. Yeah, I do not understand that. I don't. I don't understand. Like, I understand if nobody admits fault. I understand that. Now the whole like forward progress thing, if if I'm coming up and I'm trying to avoid smoking this dude in the door and I spin out, that one's questionable to me, right? I can understand like, well, we got to keep the show running. Yeah, maybe tighten up the way you run the ship, right? I can understand that a little bit, you know. And like single car spins, we went to a dirt track many a year ago, and it had nothing to do with the track. It wasn't the track's fault. We were watching a modifieds race, and they finished 5 laps. They timed out like an hour and a half. It was only like a 25 lap race. They finished 5 laps. The amount of single car spins. And then the guys that try to get their spot back, like, brother, nobody touched you. Just get your ass back here. 100% I can understand that. But if like 3 rows back spins and the guys 10 rows back spin to avoid wrecking them, I don't understand, you know, like I don't understand that, right? But if you put yourself in a position that you're going to wreck somebody and then you make the track make that decision, shut up about the track making that decision. Now, I'm not saying that some of these tracks aren't screwing these things up. I'm not saying some of these tracks aren't playing favorites. I'm not saying some of these tracks don't have some people that shouldn't be allowed in the gate. I'm not saying that. I'm also not saying that there aren't guys out there wrecking people every week. Okay. Somebody might be trying to wreck you intentionally. Probably not. Odds are no, maybe, right? But if I drive into the side of Scott and neither of us tap and we go to the tail, it is not right for me to go and just start berating my local track we race at. Oh, they put us to the tail and this is horseshit. And Scott drives into me every week. And I put myself in that position. You know, I avoid that. Go around him on the outside. Because I would tell you, if there's video evidence, if you got a GoPro in your car and you try to go low and he chopped you, and you try to go low and he chopped you, and you try to go low and he chopped you, and you're like, all right, cool. You know what? It's not worth wrecking the cars. And then I go high and then he runs me to the wall. And then I go high and he runs me to the wall, and I go low and he chops me. Hey, you know what? I'm going to send him. You know what I mean? Hey, pick a lane. Here, I'll pick one for you, right? I ain't going to wreck him. But I'll have a video and I'll be like, hey, so Mr. Track owner, Mr. Track director, Mr. Series owner, series promoter, whoever I'm going to talk to, whoever I need to. Man, I need you to just watch this video, and I need you to explain to me why this style of driving is okay. And here's video from this week and last week and the week before, and here's where he's done it with these other people. Like, is this okay? Like, I need some clarification here. And if they're like, well, I didn't see anything that he did wrong, and maybe if you were just faster. Okay. Now I have a case for going on the old book of faces and being like, hey, so local track Y, this is what they allow. And this is what I talked to race director and this is what he said. But if I race and it's the first time this has happened, I'm like, oh, they don't do anything, and every week it's the same driver, and every week it's shut up, stop it. The amount of posts too, where everybody's cheating but me. Stop it. Oh, I'd go run over there, but it's all cheating cars. I always one driver, always think they're better than everybody. Everybody thinks they're so good, but stop it. I have no issue, and I've said this publicly on this show multiple years, multiple times. I have no issue with constructive criticism of a racetrack, of legitimate discussion of problems at racetracks. I have no issue with that. I take issue with bashing of just, you know, one local guy refuses to run our local track because they allow cheaters out there. It's ABC format, and he was mad about C-main guys. He was mad about C-main guys cheating. They were under the same rule set as the A-main guys. No, they're cheating. They're cheating. Shut up. To this day, that dude still hates that racetrack. He will bash it every chance he gets, and it's unfounded horseshit, right? But I've been told some things at racetracks by promoters, by owners, and the way shows are ran. I have been at a racetrack and heard the announcer say, if you love racing, you won't comment on social media about what's going on tonight. It was like 1:30 in the morning and there was still 3 features to go. I'm not bashing a racetrack by being like, holy shit, why does it take 25 minutes to clean up a spin? Not even an oil down, just a spin. I'm not bashing a track by commenting on, oh, God, their work. Look, I know they're going to get into some new safety equipment. They got new guys they're trying to train, but brother, they can't run that show along right now for nothing. I'm not bashing that track by having a discussion about things that are going wrong. But if the first thing I do is just, Jesus, I knew this is why I don't ever come to this racetrack. So terrible. What's going on? Oh, it's just being shit like usual. That's not constructive. It's not helpful. McDonald's is still opening new stores, and all anybody ever does is complain about they don't get the right food and it's too slow and they don't have this and don't have that. McDonald's weathers that storm just fine. Racetracks can weather the storm if it's constructive. Racetracks also, if you don't have a bunch of negative stuff happen, you don't get a lot of negative posts. It's pretty easy to drown out one basher with 50 people that are like, dude, you screwed up. They booted you because you screwed up, and then you tried to fight like 8 people. That's on you. But if you were the 8th fight that night and somebody else is like, damn, 8 fights tonight at this racetrack. Like, what can we do to stop having 8 fights at this racetrack? And stop bashing it. People aren't going to want to go to the races if you're first off, don't put yourself in that position to be the 8th fight. You want to be first or second, right? I've got other things I want to say, but they're all like safety related at this point. So yeah, we're coming back. We're gonna start having more shows. Give me a few days, give me a week. We're gonna try to have some guests back on here. Maybe next Thursday we'll try to have a guest and stuff like that. I got so many people to talk to, so much catching up to do. I'm so sick of watching Facebook and seeing all these people who he wrecked me intentionally and he's out to get me and blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. Just stop and ask yourself, was it my fault? Maybe. Maybe it was my fault. Like, you know, that's where we're at for tonight. If you guys got comments, questions, concerns, throw them out there. This will be our Q&A. We'll take some time to talk. Take a few minutes here. Somebody had to say it. There's just too much bullshit. Because statistically, half of you guys aren't as good as you probably think you are. Now, you could be like 85% good and think you're 100% good, right? I think I'm probably about 90% good, and I'm anywhere from 60 to 100% good. Depends on the day. Depends on what I'm driving, right? What is the proper distance between driver and steering wheel? Proper distance between driver and steering wheel. Well, there's a few factors at play, Brad. One is the ability of the driver to drive with the wheel where it's at. And I know that sounds goofy, but if they're driving like this and they can do that because they have the arm strength, cool. But if they need to be back here because they need to be able to use their shoulders and stuff, that's the proper distance. Now, the next part of that is how far can they move? I don't know the exact amount a driver can and should move in their belts if they hit something head on. But there needs to be that air gap there, right? Now, part of that is ingress and egress. If you've got the shaft coming all the way out and you don't want to run any spacers, you might have it a little farther away so you can get in and out. But you might have it the shaft a little farther away and stack some spacers up and have the steering wheel come at you farther. A lot of it's driver comfort. I like the steering wheel a little farther out than like my dad does. My dad likes it a little closer to him, right? Um, things like that are kind of what plays into part. But the big deal is you want to try to not have them racing like this. You want to have some bend in the arms. Honestly, what I usually do whenever I build a car for somebody that's not me, well, I technically do it for me too. But just set them in the car, and if you have to, blindfold them and have them just hold the steering wheel where they're comfortable. And you can even do it outside of the car. Just have them sit in a seat, just hand them a steering wheel and be like, all right, just put it where it feels comfortable. And you might find that they have it a little farther out, a little farther, So yeah, there probably is an ideal distance, but like there's a lot of stuff at play there. So Andrew, my racing season is high and low. I took the lead at Bristol, qualified fourth, third in practice, had a car that was fast, and then broke the right rear off the same lap I got the lead. We got the car fixed for Dad, and when Ben was here, I finished fifth at Kazoo. The car wasn't what it needed to be. I just kind of rode it out. Made a couple changes. Went to Springport. Finished second to Gord. Pretty decent night. I didn't have the car prepared for Ben well. Didn't have it dock, and then he blew it up. So I have another race car I got to fix before I can race it. So that's been my season. So we might try to make some more changes and take Dad's car out because it's not where I want it to be and where I know it can be. It's not as good as it was before I took it to Bristol. So I might try to get it back out. But that's, my season's not going all that. It's not going terrible, but it's not necessarily going all that great. So a lot better than last season though, because I tried to run 3 times. The wife got kidney stones and in the hospital, so I didn't go racing that time. That time the transmission wouldn't shift, and I finished like 8th in the D main at Springport. Not my shining example. And that race I towed all the way to Rockford to run 1.5 practice sessions, did a whole bunch of work to the car, and the tranny blew up. So that was last season. Austin says, I am a rookie. I tend to qualify terrible, then go out and break out in my heat. Any tips? Qualify better. I know. I guess the real question, Austin, is what's the difference? Like in your mind, what's the difference between qualifying and your heat or feature that is allowing you to run those better lap times? The next question would be the like you're qualifying. Is it single car qualifying? Is it group qualifying? Do they take it out of your practice? Like, how do they do qualifying? So yeah. And Brad, you're more than welcome. Yeah, because he says my son is straight arm returning. He will be significantly better off. I watched the clip. I knew why you were asking that, Brad. I just didn't want to call it out, but since you mentioned it, I watched the top row video, and he is very straight armed. Very straight armed. I definitely would try to get that steering wheel a little farther back. Um, Based on his seat and the window opening, I wouldn't necessarily try to get the seat closer. Um, for the love of God, though, cut the zip ties on the gas pedal. Like I get the spacers. Okay, I get the spacers, but like, dude, you got like this like this much zip tie coming off the gas pedal. I was like, that's distracting. Um, but if he likes where it's at and you just need it closer to him, you can either lengthen that shaft or look at getting some spacers for the steering wheel to quick hub. Okay, and you can bring it out. So yeah, um, group qualifying. And honestly, I think the difference is in qualifying, I try to pedal down, but during the feature, I just try to run a clean line. Austin, it sounds like you need to work on the mental aspect of qualifying and racing. Okay. And this is where a lot of people can struggle, right? Um, my dad absolutely hates single car qualifying. He just can't find the rhythm in single car that he can in group qualifying. Okay. I can do equally well in either. Group qualifying works really, really well. And this is a mentality that you need to get into because I don't have to go hammer down every lap. I can build up to running a good lap. I can scrub one corner and have the next lap to go faster, right? You're not putting yourself in a position where, I've got 2 laps. I have to do something in 2 laps, say maybe you do, maybe it is only 2 laps, but say, for us, it's normally 6, 8, 10 laps. Okay, cool. Hey, so I screwed that corner up. Next lap, I need to, because if I screw up turns 1 and 2, obviously that lap is scrubbed. I want to make sure I get through 3 and 4 good, so I can cross the start finish line at max speed, so I can run through, the next lap good. If you have to, just concentrate on exactly what you do in the feature. It's not qualifying. It's just a heat race, a staggered start heat race, right? Just constant, and this is honestly where you are going to be able to get better as a driver and to get faster. The cleaner your line, the better your line, the cleaner your braking and gas points, and the cleaner your steering. Like every facet of your lap, the cleaner it is, the smoother it is, the faster you're going to be. Okay. Um, and that's heat feature qualifying. It doesn't matter. So if you try to focus on the same things every lap, I need to hit my braking point. I need to hit the apex. I need to hit my gas point, and I need to not hit anybody else. Right. If you can concentrate on hitting those same points and those same lines every lap, right, you're gonna get faster. Okay. Um, every time, because it's just it's just practice. It's just that mental repetition, right? I have a gift for being able to go to a new track and pick up the line fairly quickly and usually do well on new tracks I've never raced at before. But I can tell you that in my head, I have 10 things I'm trying to concentrate on. Where's my breaking point? Where's my turn in point? Where's my, what's my apex speed? Where's my line off? Where's the rubber at? Where isn't it? Is there marbles up there? What's the shape of the track? Like there's so much going on in my head. But when I go to Springport, which is 15 minutes up the road here, it's the first track I ever turned in laps on. I've probably got 15,000 laps out here, or Spartan Speedway, the same type of deal. I don't have to worry about what's the line. I don't have to worry about where my breaking point is. I don't have to worry about where the apex is. I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. I can laser focus on the race car. I can laser focus on the guys and gals around me. I don't have to have those 6, 8, 10, you know, I'm going to the first few laps. Like if I pull out in the feature and the feature ahead of me oiled the track down, I need to know where that happened and I need to pay attention to that. Or hey, Billy Bob just drove through the mud and kicked up a bunch of dirt. I do need to know that, right? So I keep that in my mind. But I know the line. I know the braking points. I know the gas points. I know how far I have to turn the wheel. I know those things. And so I don't have to concentrate on them. If you are to the point that you still need to concentrate on those things for the track that you're running, go ahead and do that. Don't worry about being pedal down. Worry about the same braking point. Oh, hey, you know what? The car turned really well. Let's get in the gas a little earlier. Ooh, okay, we were faster. Okay, same braking point, more gas. Same braking point, more gas. Hey, I don't know how much more I can back the gas up. Let's brake a little later, right? Do all those things in practice and qualifying, because if you screw up half a corner, doesn't matter. Nobody's going to pass you. Somebody might pass you, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's not for position. So keep the same mentality in qualifying. Work on the mental aspect of your qualifying, of your racing, of these are the things I need to work on, right? So that would be my advice. Especially if you yourself were even saying, "Hey, I think this is a mental thing." Just change the mentality in qualifying. Like, that's what I would do is just concentrate on doing the same thing every time you hit the racetrack. So yeah. Um, Dad, are you asking Ron or are you asking me? By the way, so that's the problem using the software that I'm using, is that I cannot see when you guys reply to each other. I can only see your comments. So yeah, me, Dad, I'm not planning on anything right this minute. I figured you and I could talk because I don't know, in a week or two, I was thinking we could shake the car down one more time, scale it and changes and stuff like that, and we can figure out from there. So yeah, we'll talk. I want to make sure that when you can race it next year, that you know it's better, because the car that I had at Springport was good. Just I know it can be so much better. You know, granted, have brake fans that don't disintegrate will help that. So yeah. But all right. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Throw them out real quick. Otherwise, we might call it a night. If you haven't already, I do want you to hit the like button. It is the only thing I ask of you guys to do. Um, so yeah, I do appreciate each and every one of you. Um, I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I really do. We are going to have more content coming soon. I've got some. I filmed a couple little short tech videos. I'm trying to get edited up, stuff like that. Like, we're going to be coming back. We're going to be doing more. I'll be honest with you guys, gals. I need to get the views built up. I need to get some videos and stuff before PRI, and I'm working with somebody to try to get me to SEMA still. And it's November and December, and so I got to have content before that to make sure when I go talk to these companies that they have a reason to talk to me. So we're going to be jumping back into things. So yeah, but that's what I got for tonight, guys and gals. Ask yourself, is it you? Just was it you that caused the wreck? What is the group here? Is it you? Was it you? The answer might be no, and that's okay. The answer might be yes. So I Brandon, I would love to try to come back for the Bahama brackets this year. I got to get a motor. The motor that's in dock has more holes in the bottom end than it started. So Ben ventilated the block for me. So, and I have not tore it apart to find out if the head's good or not. So, and that was I'll be honest with you. Hey, no problem, Austin. I didn't realize it was Springport. No offense. Like, not like I don't know who the hell's racing out here, but see, Austin's not one of them that's complaining about a bunch of stuff, because I didn't recognize this racing at Springport. Yeah, we'll be out there. I kind of want to go race at Wasso, so I don't know if we're gonna shake Dad's car down at a Wasso or Springport, but I love Springport. It's my track. But no, Doc, I'm not gonna lie, Brandon. I was watching Ben race at Spartan, because I didn't take Dad's car or anything like that. Like, we just took Doc up there to have some fun, and so that I could help him. And I was watching it and I was like, dude, this is gonna be cool. Like, I'm gonna just race Doc. Like, I'm excited to just go run this car. Like, it's the only thing Doc has is we put a sway bar on it, front sway bar, which was a bigger one. and has coilovers on the right side, but they're just some cheap, no name bullshit struts with coilovers and some bump stops. But other than that, that thing was bone stock. And I was looking forward to it. I was going to race it. I was gonna go have some fun. And no hate to Ben, the wire came off the fan, so it just overheated and took the motor out. And the water temp gauge is one of the little ones. It's partial sweep. Like I do not blame Ben whatsoever. So, but yeah, so I got to fix it. So yeah, if we run a Waso, we'll baby powder the tires. So, because we just our luck, we'd do well, we'd win it or something like that, and then yeah, 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 it wasn't me. So yeah, yeah. Springport only has one race left before Michigan Cup. Oh shit. Okay. Dude, Josh, I want to run Mount Lawn. Like that place looks like a lot of fun. I won't lie to you though. Mount Lawn looks a little rough this year. Um, and I'm not saying who, how, why, but I've seen some stuff come out of Mount Lawn this year, and they are tearing shit up. And it could just be that kind of year where accidents just happen. I am not playing blame on anybody. It wasn't me. I can look and say it wasn't me, right? Look and say it wasn't me. But yeah, the stock class has been pretty rough. Pro class hasn't been bad. Yeah, the pro class there for a minute was, but and no hate. Like again, I watched a couple of them, and it was just one little bump here, one little bump there, and because that is the thing with a track like Mount Lawn, a track like Spartan, some of these tracks, like the racing's tight, and the track is not that big, so it's easy to just wiggle a little bit and bump, and all hell breaks loose. So, and I've seen that a bunch, like Spartan. Depending on the class, we've been accused of that. It's so rough there, but like, yeah, shit happens, but like it's a quarter-mile bull ring. So, but Mount Lawn, for those of you who don't know, Mount Lawn is built on a baseball field, and it has the shape of a baseball field. Like it's pretty badass. I'm going to come down there and race something at some point. Yeah. So because I be guys and gals, I'm telling you, the goal next year is to have at least 2, if not 4, running race cars. We're gonna have at least 3 because we're gonna get the Cavalier for sure. We'll have Doc running for sure, and then if I got to put Lucy back together, we'll put Lucy back together. Otherwise, we're gonna get Frank the new car out. That is my goal. So next year we're gonna have cars. We're gonna have the ability to travel. So yeah, yeah. August 31st, last race of Springport from Michigan Cup. All right. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see what's going on. So Gord's got that bounty out on him. So maybe we'll go practice at Owasso and get the car better, and then we'll come back to Springport. But anyways, I'm going to let you guys and gals go for tonight. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around, even though things have been slow. And yeah, you're going to see a lot more of my face, and I'm working on 2. We got some more in the studio. We're going to bring back the orange and black. I was looking at these. I'm gonna try to incorporate these back on the wall and stuff like that. We still got some fun stuff coming. So, but I will likely not be out this Saturday, Brad, because we haven't worked on the car, and I've got a couple other plans. I'm trying to get my tow rig back up and running. So, likely won't be this Saturday, maybe the next. So, anyways, thank you all for being here, guys and gals. We'll see you very soon.